Hello, and welcome to another edition of IIABCal Voices. I am your host, James Lott Jr., and that's with two T's, not one. I'm not a parking lot. I am James Lott. And I am here talking with someone who's great, is doing something that's coming up soon, the InsurPATH Virtual Conference, November 4th and 6th this year. I used to work in the insurance industry. I did for almost 10 years when it was called IBA West, our Insurance Skills Center Division. So it's been a lot of fun after 11 years gone that I am back and I'm able to talk to people who are doing amazing things. And this InsurFest is great because he has some amazing speakers, and we're talking to one of them. He has, actually, I like his thing. He has the Champions Code, which we're going to talk about that. Over 50 books. I thought I had a lot of books. He has a lot of books out there. He is a speaker. He's on TV. He does everything. So we're just gonna get right into it because I've already been talking to him before camera. Ross Bernstein. Hi, Ross.
Hey, James. How you doing?
You have a great smile. Great smile. One thing you said that I'm going to start out with that people look at me all the time because I do 8,000 things. You wrote, and I quote, "Enjoy sleeping and doing nothing." And people look at you and go, really? They do it to me all the time. And I do. I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. I love to sleep and everything. So are you like me where you make the most of while you're awake, right?
I wish I got more sleep. I've been getting a lot more sleep in COVID just because I'm not traveling and I'm out of time zones and stuff. But no, it's a big part of it now. You got to kind of take care of your mental health, your physical health. I mean, I study sports. That's my passion, and sleep science is all the rage. A lot of players have sleep coaches. They measure it. They measure REM sleep, and you don't sleep well, you don't perform well. You don't perform well, that's bad for business. So you got to get sleep, right?
I used to be a nurse, so I know for a fact your body has to shut down.
Yeah.
To some little repairs and to relax. You sleep really is. I mean, these folks are like, I get 2 hours sleep a night. I'm like, that's not good. You got to sleep. Yeah. You got to sleep. It's just good for your body. Again, like you said, to be able to do your job well. That's a very, it's very.
I tell you what, I love, James, I love being able to take like a 15-minute nap in the middle of the day if I can. That really, if I don't get that nap in at some point, it screws me up. So they always say like Einstein, some of these really smart people were really big fans of cat naps. So you're like George Costanza under the desk, whatever you got to do, right?
Well, Ross, they actually said there's been studies saying that you'll live longer if you take a nap. And I take naps.
Yeah.
I'm home now. I take naps in the middle of the day. Well, you're right.
James, I'm narcoleptic. I could fall asleep at any moment during this interview. So just beware.
That would make for good television. Go ahead and do it.
We go viral. We go viral.
I was like, the man falls asleep during the interview. Okay, sure, why not? I'll take it. But no, I do. But you shouldn't take them too long. They always say 15, 20 minutes, half an hour is good. And I've done that. It does. You do feel refreshed. I mean, there's something about that. Hey, you go to Europe, you go to Spain. They take siestas. I mean, there's a whole thing behind it. It's not something. But I love that when you said that sleep. I was like, this guy does 20,000 things when he's talking about sleep. I love that. Is my kind of friend. My kind of friend there. So okay. So what is the topic you're talking about at InsurFest?
So my program is called the Champions Code. Welcome to my man cave, as you can see.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a sports fanatic.
In here that I want. Yes, stuff in here that
I want. This is like my third grade bedroom, my worldwide headquarters, or as my mother likes to say, my basement, right? But so the Champions Code is my program. I've been speaking professionally for 20 years, and it's based specifically on 2 best-selling series of books I've written. This top series, it's Raising Stanley, Raising Lombardi. It was all about what it took to hoist that trophy. I interviewed like 1,000 professional athletes and coaches for that series who all had one thing in common. They were all champions. And much like Jim Collins did in his iconic book, Good to Great, I was looking for the trends, the metrics, the patterns, the analytics that were common among those teams. The results are fascinating. So that's the champions portion. The code part is a series of books I wrote called The Code, about the unwritten, unspoken rules in sports. It's about what leads to getting drilled in baseball, or what leads to fighting in hockey. And it's not just about the fighting, it's about winning with integrity. There's a fine line between cheating and gamesmanship in sports and in business. And if you cross that line, there's consequences. And that's what leads to the fighting. There's an honor code the players live by. So my program, it's about winning with integrity. So the Champions Code, it's about following your moral compass, doing business the right way. Obviously in insurance, financial services, it's really important that people, follow their true north, to do things the right way for themselves, for their customers, and to make sure, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one's looking. And in sports, you get people, they're always trying to cheat. There's these little gray areas. And so it's a fascinating topic, and it's something I'm really passionate about. But the Champions Code is just about doing it the right way.
I always say, because I played sports growing up, we all of us did, and I think there's a lot of things you can learn about life and business while playing sports. So what you're doing is not surprising to me.
For sure. And as I say, like golf and business, you can tell right away about someone about how they golf if they cheat, right? There's all kinds of if it's a little foot wedge here or whatever, and and it's just so it's a fascinating topic. And for me to be able to combine that, I work a lot in the insurance and financial services industry. So I'm going to share, a lot of best practice ideas. There's going to be a lot of wisdom and stories. I'm a storyteller from all the athletes and coaches that I've interviewed. But then there's always a business takeaway. I'll talk about a great team, a great story, something great, good or bad. Then I'm going to talk about a company and how maybe they've pivoted, how they've adapted, how they've shown extraordinary customer service, or how they failed, and how that applies to being an independent insurance agent and what they can do. Hopefully your guests and attendees will find a few nuggets of wisdom that they can use to be better, to hire the right people, to create culture for their company, whether they've got 2 employees or 1,000. So whatever that might look like for them, we're going to talk about everything from social media to referrals, to really the nuts and bolts thing. I'm a solopreneur. I book 120 events a year as a professional speaker, and I start every year with a blank calendar. So I can relate to the stresses and anxieties that an independent agent would have, and a lot of those issues. So I feel like I'm going to be really on point with my messaging. So I'm really excited to be able to share my message. I'm with a lot of other state associations of independent agents. So I'm very excited to be able to share a lot of things that have gotten great feedback.
I'm excited. I took a class with you. I want to see what you're saying. No, so it's because I do believe in that there is a complete correlation between sports and business. I do see it. I just had a guy who's a athletic business coach also. I think it's Brian Bergford out of Denver. He's been on one of my other shows. And same thing. So I was going to ask you, so were you an athlete yourself?
I was a wannabe athlete. I tried to play hockey at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of a funny story. I won't give it away because I'm going to talk about it in my keynote speech, but I didn't make it very far. Yes, I played, football and hockey and baseball growing up, and, sports has always been my passion. I wasn't good enough to play at a high level, but I'm really lucky that I got to make my career being in the world. So now as a working member of the media, I get press passes, and I get to work very closely with, my Minnesota Vikings and the Twins and the Wild and the Timberwolves and the Gophers. So I get to be in the locker room and meeting all these people who, for me, I'm a little kid in a candy store. It's great just to be able to meet him. And, I, like you, James, I love studying what makes the great ones great. It's fascinating, right? Just to be able to, so I'm going to be talking in my program about a lot of my childhood heroes, guys like people you've heard of and maybe never heard of. A guy like Harmon Killebrew, the old Minnesota Twins, that back in the 60s, or someone like Tom Brady today, or Wayne Gretzky, or Pat Summitt at the University of Tennessee. So I talk about all these great men and women, and I talk about their DNA and what makes them unique, and how people can, because like you said, we learn so much from sports that applies to business. And I think there's little nuggets of wisdom along the way. And I love being able to find those and share them and find that practical business application that people can say, you know what? I can do that. That's something easy. I can do that tomorrow morning, and it'll start to move the dial and get me more business.
So your speaking engagement, it's very relatable, right? It's very much like, I'm gonna give you some stories, give you some some knowledge, some things that you've learned that are easy to digest, right? And then you can just go, okay, and get some good takeaways, right?
Yeah. I'm a storyteller, so I love being able to dive deep into these really cool stories about athletes and things that they've discovered, things that they do. Some of it'll, be astonishing, and some of it like, wow, and then talking about great companies I've worked with all over the world. I've spoken on all 7 continents. So I've really been able to meet some fascinating people all over the world. And really my passion is speaking and entertaining and doing it in a fun way. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I'll be, but I can, in my setup here in my worldwide headquarters, I get to move around a little bit, right? And that's part of it. We're all zoomed out these days. So you gotta, get up and get in the camera, and you gotta make it interesting, man. You gotta, whoa, my sleeve stack's head just popped off. You and I are both 70, we're both 70s toy junkies.
And I was showing right? Baby Yoda. So we got our thing.
We're both geeking out, James.
And Darth Vader. That. No, Ross, you're like my twin. I love you. Okay, so, and I was going to ask you, the next thing I was going to ask you is, we'll get more into that a little more, but I want to ask you, now that a lot of things, I do speaking engagements too across the country all the time, but now
awesome.
It's not right now. It's been more virtual, webinar and stuff. So how do you, I asked this question for another speaker. How do you harness yourself when it comes to now virtual speaking? Your energy and everything. How do you do that? I mean, you're doing great right now, but how did you?
It's hard, man. I mean, I can tell that about your DNA. You've got that amazing energy, and you either, I don't know if it can be taught. You either have it or you don't, right? It's hard because you know how it is when you're grinding and you're giving your 6th speech in 5 days, and you're going from Pittsburgh to Des Moines to
I've been to all those places,
right? Moose Jaw and Medicine Hat, and you don't know which way is up. But being in front of a crowd, you feed in that energy. So I'll tell you what, just even being on a podcast where I can look at you and see you, it gives me energy. I feed off of that, and you feed off mine. It's hard when you don't get to see the audience. I love when there's, at least with Zoom, you can put up the boxes or Teams, and you can, sometimes you'll get people that'll do this or they'll laugh, and you feed on it. But I had a gig the other day, I got to tell you, and we're all zoomed out. I've been, I've been using Zoom and Hop On and Teams and Connect and WebEx and go to webinar, and every day it's another, oh my God, send me the link and this, that, and Mike, you're muted. Wait, what? And it's nuts. And I'm on a call, and all I can see, I've got my, I got to set up here. I got my laptop over there running my PowerPoint, and I'm looking at my big 27-inch monitor here. And, I got you on one side, me, it's clean, it's nice. But the other day I got a gig, and there's like 1,000 people on, and all I can see is the AV guy, full screen, clipping his toenails, picking his nose. I'm like, man, I can't even screenshot it to tell someone about this moment right now.
Yes.
But like, that's our world, right? We just, you know what? You just got to roll with it. It's a shit show for everybody right now. No one is spared this insanity, right? This COVID has created 2020 just, right? Just, but it's like, you just got to bring it. You just got to you got to put on your big boy pants and go to work and have fun. And hopefully you get people like you that make it really fun. And that's the deal. Cause no one's fully engaged on these online programs. But I'll tell you what, I had an event this morning. The guy told me there was a couple hundred people that started and a couple hundred people that finished. So for me, that's a great metric. And I'm sure for you as a speaker, that if you can hold their attention, but you got to be an entertainer. Even I tell, like an insurance producer, financial services, a wealth manager, if you can't go meet someone today, you got to do something creative. Create a setup. This is like, I see your background. It tells me about who you are, right? This is who I am. I want to see pictures. I want to make it interesting. And I can run my PowerPoint here. Otherwise, you see my giant fat head in the screen. No one wants to see my giant fat head. So you got to move around and make it interesting.
I love it. You got it right there. I want to ask you, because since you do part of what I do, interview people. I interview thousands of people. So what is one thing about interviewing that you really, I think you touched on it a little bit, I think it's probably the same for me, that you really like about talking to people?
Well, I think everybody's got a story. I mean, and a guy like you have these, you have this, your DNA is, you have incredible, like your soft skill is likability. People, your smile, and you just create right away, like people are comfortable with you. And that's the thing, like as a member of the media, I don't want to walk up to an athlete and go, hey, tell me about the game. And you're talking, so for me, it's more like, I'd rather meet him at the charity golf tournament.
Yes.
And then grab a beer, or say, hey, can I
Yeah.
get your cell phone so I can call you next time you're on your way to the airport? And then when they're comfortable, and then it's okay, well, let me tell you a really good story. That's,
Yes.
when you get the really good, because it's like the movie Bull Durham, where Kevin Costner's telling Nuke LaLoosh,
Yeah.
just go with the cliches. Going to take it one game at a time. Happy to be here. The
Yeah.
early bird gets the worm. I mean, that's the shit you get when you're not a good
Right.
interviewer.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
able to create a relationship, and that's what my program's all about. And I'm sure that's what you do too. It's about relationships, and that's what's so hard, that we can't be together. No, I am excited. I am going to be in Hawaii at the big event later on in 2021. So I hope I get a chance to whet their appetites a little bit here for this event. But when you're in person, you get a chance to have a meal and have a beer and shake someone's hand and look them in the eye. And that's where, these vendor trade shows, I feel for these folks, because they can't do that on Zoom. So we're just going to have to get through this, and the vaccine's coming, and then it's like, okay, we'll get back.
Yeah. No, I think folks need to make, if you're going to InsurFest, you want to go to his thing. You're gonna make sure, because you can tell it's gonna be a blast. I can tell it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I do, whenever I get the statement, I never tell this story, and they tell you the story, or I've never told that story before. I'm like, I love it. I win. I win.
Yeah.
I love that. Or that's a good question. That's another. You want to hear that too, because
exactly.
you know this too. Because I'm also interviewed. I'm interviewed, and we're both on both sides of it. So I've been asked some of the same 10 questions over and over again. I mean, they're just like boring. Go, okay, well, yeah, blah blah. I like the ones that are different. I like when the interviewers are present. I can tell you're a present interviewer, where you're in it, and you probably catch the little gold nuggets and go with them. That's what I do. I hear something, I go with it. And go there. So I like
it's hard. I'll tell you what, writing biographies, it's hard, because you might sift through hundreds of hours of tape or hours of a conversation just to get a few paragraphs. You know what I mean? You got to kind of sift through all that just to get the good stuff. So it's hard, but you're right. You got to be able to kind of poke through all the noise and try and get at it. It's hard now. Now with social media and everything, that the athletes, the coaches, they don't have to talk to the reporters the way they used to. They got their own platform now, so they're more guarded, and they've been snake bit, so they don't want to talk to people. They think, oh, you're gonna pull out the one nugget and use it as a soundbite, and it'll be fake news, and so there's really trust issues. But it's fascinating, and you're a great interviewer. I'm having fun.
Thank you. Do you remember your first book?
Yes.
Do you remember what that felt like when you completed it and put it out there? Do you remember that?
I was 21 years old, believe it or not. I actually talked about it in my speech. It was,
wow.
It was, I can't get into too much because it'll give away the story. But yes, I was just a dumb kid and didn't have any idea what I was doing. But man, it launched my career. It was a cool moment.
So Ross, did you always know you wanted to go in, because you didn't do sports professionally yourself, but did you always know this would be part of your career, even at like 18, 19, 20 years old?
I just always knew I wanted to be in sports. I had two brothers that had Ivy League MBAs, and my mom and dad wanted me to go down that path, but I want to work in sports. So I wound up writing my first book about Gopher hockey. The book was called Gopher Hockey by the Hockey Gopher. It's a funny story, but
okay.
And I wound up interviewing hundreds of players and coaches and telling their stories. And once that came out, and then you wind up doing TV interviews and telling these stories, people laughing, and then companies that call and say, hey, come tell that story, come tell those stories. And that's, people want to be on the inside. They want to know what goes on behind the curtain, right? And if you can share that.
They do. I always went to talk to the caddies.
Right.
They got some stories, I'm sure. I want to hear.
They have an honor code too, right? Like they don't kiss and tell. You got what happens inside the rope stays inside the rope.
Exactly. But those are ones I want to talk. I always tell people all the time. I go, it's good to know the A-listers. That's great and all, but it's the B people. That's who you want to talk to. Right. Those are the gatekeepers. Come on, Ross. You know the truth. They're the gatekeepers. Yeah. I knew all the B people in Hollywood, San Francisco, wherever I lived. I always knew all of them. Those are
the roadies. They got the stories, right?
They got all the stories. Yes, they do. They do. And also another thing I want to touch upon a little bit is speaking, because people always ask me, James, how are you so comfortable? How do you speak? I always say it's a learned skill. You can learn how to speak and run. So for you, did it always come easy, or did you have to work at it?
You know what? It came easy. And you know, you and I, our profession is most people's greatest fear.
Yes.
People statistically would rather be eaten by a shark than have to do what we do for a living.
They do. They're ready to go bungee jumping, jump off a
Right,
plane,
right.
then speak.
Right, getting in front of a couple thousand people, but
That's funny.
you either love it or you don't. You know what? I was the youngest of three boys, and I was always clamoring for attention.
There you go.
I was my high school commencement speaker, so you know I loved it. I love being in front of a crowd. So for me, it's great. I get more nervous now. I mean, honestly, doing these virtual events, people think, it's easy. It's so hard. I mean, you have to like you got to be your own AV nerd now. You got to figure all this stuff out, right? You got to do stuff. And, you know, now it's remembering, you know, all the little things, but no, I mean, how about for you? I mean, do you enjoy it as well? I mean, is it a passion of yours, obviously
my mother said I came out of the womb talking. So I guess that was just I was like talking to everybody. So we got to be kids on the bus. And they're like, hi, mister, I'm James Lott Jr. Like I would tell people at 6 years old who I was. So I guess I always spoke. For some reason, I've never been shy. And everybody at IIABCal who knows me knows I've never been that way. I've always been open. I don't know. I like it. I do like the opportunity to affect change in the world. I feel like that's what we do.
Well, you're funny, and there's a great line for speakers. There's a great question. Do you have to be funny in order to be a professional speaker? And the answer is only if you want to get paid.
I like that.
Yeah,
and
that's part of it. If you're not making people laugh every few minutes and you know having fun, then they're going to tune you out. And whether it's at a conference, you can just see people. They're kind of like, you know, you start and they're like, okay, dance, monkey boy.
Yeah, exactly.
You entertain me, or I'm going to be on Facebook or doing something else. Because sitting
online shopping.
And now when they're at home, it's like they can be completely zoned out, right? So you got to bring
off somewhere, turn off the camera.
Yeah.
I did a speaking engagement in Savannah, Georgia, for the National Association of Perinatal Social Workers, whatever. So I'm like, I don't know what this crowd's going to be like. I have no idea. I came with some crazy hair when I first came out, just on purpose, and then I took it off in somewhere. But I did something in the beginning to kind of get them at ease and kind of go, oh, okay, this guy James Lott Jr. is going to be somebody different. And then I went into what I was there to talk about. I was a keynote speaker.
I love that.
And I did a show once in a taco costume. It was Taco Tuesday. I came out. I did a 45-minute show in a taco costume.
I love that.
They loved it. I mean,
you gotta have big balls. You know what? Yeah. You gotta sift through the noise. You gotta, you know, if there's a whole lineup of like, hey, why should I be interested? Wow, look at that guy. He's confident enough to come out here and entertain us. You gotta love that. I love that stuff. That's awesome.
But the thing is, you know, so they look to us as the experts. If you're a speaker and you're being touted as the speaker of whatever it is, you're the expert. So they're looking to you. And I tell people who are afraid of speaking, no one's looking to you to fail. That's the misconception. They want you to succeed. They're coming to look at you to hopefully that you will give them something good. That's what they want. So when you deliver, it's just a confirmation that these people really do want you to make it. No one's out to get you. And that's the misconception, I think. And so, but you're right. There are a million people talking. They can watch anything.
Groups like yours, you know, they're a little bit different because these folks, you know, when you go to a corporate meeting, if you're going to speak at Coca-Cola, the people in the crowd are being paid to sit there and be in the crowd and to be on time, and that's a different animal. Yeah. These folks are paying out of their own pocket to come. They're going to come and they're going to get credits. They're going to come and they're going to, you know, they're going to get education. They're going to learn about new, you know, regulations and all the new, you know, all the post-COVID new rulings. And I mean, think about all the forest fire claims and acts of natural disaster, in addition to, I mean, what a crazy year for everyone in this world, right? But they don't have to be there. They're paying to be there. So you got to bring it even more for groups like this, because they can say, hey, I don't need to be here. So I take it's when I get a standing ovation for a crowd like this, it means much more than a corporate crowd, because they're like, hey, you got to work harder to really make it worth it. I mean, the value for them paying to come to a conference is to have hopefully great speakers like you, where they're going to not only entertain them, but really educate them. And they're going to go, you know what? I got a page of notes. This was worth it. I can't wait to come back next year. That's our goal, is to make sure they leave saying, I can't wait to come back next year.
I agree. I'm going to end it on that. I can talk to you forever, but I'm going to end it on that because I think that's when someone is paying to come to InsurPATH, you're investing in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a commitment to yourself, and that's a great thing. So speakers like Ross Bernstein, it's worth it. I mean, you're worth it. I'm sold. I'm all in. I am sold. You are worth it.
Awesome. It's going to be great.
Oh my God, he has one of those. That's so funny. I don't have one over here. I have a unicorn. That's all I got for you. That's all I do there. But I love stretch arms. So I used to love those. I literally need to come to Minnesota and have drinks.
You're welcome.
And in your man cave, look at all your stuff.
That's awesome. You're welcome
Minnesota.
anytime, James.
I love Minnesota. So Ross Bernstein, where can they find you on the interwebs? Where to find you?
You know, my website is rossbernstein.com. I'm not a huge social media guy. I mostly choose to stay on LinkedIn. That's where I really make hay and try and thank and honor and acknowledge people. But yeah, I'd love to connect with you, and I'm excited to see everyone at the event. It's going to be amazing. And of course, Hawaii is going to be unbelievable. So hopefully a lot of those folks will be able to come there as well.
Yes. And we're talking InsurPATH Virtual Conference, November 4th and 6th. Go to IIABCal.org for more details, of course. I think of a bunch of speakers. He's one of them who will be there. And I'll be interviewing some of the other speakers, too, on this podcast. But I want to thank Rob Bernstein for his time. He's the bomb. And
Thank you.
You can follow this podcast where you get all your favorite podcasts. Anywhere audio, from iHeartRadio to Spotify to Spreaker, wherever you find them, go to IIABCal Voices, press that follow button, and you can listen to this one and all others. Then, of course, the video version, where you're looking at our beautiful faces, is on my online network. My network is called JLJ Media. It's James Lott Jr. I have over 30 shows on that network. We have a playlist for IIABCal Voices. So we talk to people in the industry in California, and plus the speakers of this InsurPATH conference. So go ahead and find, I think it's a subscribe button. I think it's like down here, or it's down there, or it's down there. It's somewhere below. It's a red button. Over there. It's over there. I can never remember where it is exactly. But it's below us, and go ahead and press that button and subscribe, and check out some of the other things I have going on and some of the other stuff we have going on with IIABCal. I want to thank everybody for your time and attention. Please, wherever you are right now, I know there's a lot of strange nature stuff happening. Wherever you are, please, I wish you safety and care, and we'll see you next time.